Welcome to On the Table, a podcast about board games, card games, and tabletop war games. Hey, it's Chase from On the Table Gaming, and welcome back to the On the Table Gaming podcast. And today we're going to be talking about how to get started with making content for games like A Song of Ice and Fire, the miniatures game. Now, rather than me talk about how I bumbled through like the past few years trying to figure things out on my own, we're actually joined by a professional videographer with 12 years of experience. Now, you might know his YouTube channel, Sunday Slaughter, where he makes some of the best A Song of Ice and Fire battle reports. So make sure you check out Sunday Slaughter on YouTube. And you might also know him from Discord, where he goes by the title of Bolton Skincare Incorporated. With that being said, Chris, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, thanks for having me. This is an honor. I listen to all your podcasts. I've seen all your videos, so it really is a treat to be here.
Well, I'm actually really excited to talk to you because now I get a professional's opinion and some tips. So before we get into the content creation side of things, let's talk a little about just gaming. So how did you find your way to tabletop wargaming in general?
You know, it's actually a funny story. I'm a late bloomer. I didn't really discover tabletop gaming or board games in general, actually, probably, later in life, but I would say 2 years ago was when I played my first serious board game. And it was actually the Game of Thrones like fantasy flight game where you choose a house and then you're
nice. Yeah,
battling over the map.
So you jumped in with that and you stuck with it. That's a kind of a deep, you're dumping in the deep end of the pool.
Yeah. It was, I dived right in. And how I got into A Song of Ice and Fire is my sister was looking for a Christmas gift for me. She went to a board game shop and she actually saw that the store was selling like the starter set with like all the Hand of the King exclusives and stuff like that. And got it for me. And it actually sat on my shelf for a good 6 months because I didn't know if there was really a community for it. I remember seeing some stuff about the Kickstarter online, but eventually I was like, okay, I want to finally try this game. I went on Facebook and saw that one of my local game shops was having a beginner's tournament. And that's how I met the community that we have. I think you had Max and Bob on a couple episodes ago. And, it was mainly because of them. They taught me the game and, I was hooked after that.
So I won't hold it against you. I know you're friends with, as they refer to him as Lord Commander Bob. He's a dastardly Night's Watch player. What's your faction at the moment? What are you playing? Choose wisely.
Well, I will start off saying that when I did stop into the shop, I talked to Max and I was like, hey man, I have the starter set, but what faction do you think would be a good one for me to play? And he said, whatever you think looks the coolest. And I appreciated that because, I was like, if I'm going to spend the time to paint an army, I want to paint the one that's coolest. So I saw the Flayed Men and I was like, I'm going to play all Boltons. That's what I'm going to do. Granted, this was maybe a week before they got their second nerf. So I was pretty bummed about that. But I've been playing neutrals and actually came across a Night's Watch starter set, and I've been dabbling with Night's Watch as well.
Fair enough. Yeah, but I think that's such good advice. Like, go with the stuff that you think is cool because you do put like such a big investment in this type of game into the units you're playing with, and honestly, like changes come and go, and things rise and fall, and sometimes there's more fun in like making something that people don't see as optimized work, and still being able to squeak out the wins with it.
Exactly. I'm actually curious to know how you came across the Free Folk. Why you like them so much?
Oh my gosh, I just think I traditionally don't play sort of horde style armies, so it's actually nothing to do with the style of play. I think when the game first came out, I found I often had to play Lannisters. When you go to play with people, everyone wants to play Starks. That was like the big faction.
Right.
They want to have the dire wolves and all the sort of there's a thematic reason as well. And it turned out it's super helpful to learn to play the game in the beginning as a Lannisters, because with Lannister supremacy, it was kind of forgiving. You go up there, your little block, you move forward, and like, I got charged, oops, but I'm tough enough to survive it. And so when I was playing that for a while, and then when the Free Folk were announced, just the idea of I love the sort of underdog idea, and I know Free Folk are strong, and this is maybe controversial, but they've always been strong, right? It's like Mark Rupp
Yeah.
won, was it Adepticon when they first came out with just the starter box? He went and found 2 starter boxes and put them together. But there's something about like the Free Folk Raiders being kind of like chaff units and then having cool things like giants, and there's tons of beards, and they've got, the spear wives are so cool. And it's just like, it was a theme thing entirely. And, I just tried to fit this round peg into a square hole of like learning how to play it. And it was greatly painful. I've recounted many times in the past, but going up to my first tournament, I'd bought 2 starter sets, and it was like, I got them on Friday, and I think it was like a Sunday event. So I like tried to paint as much as I could, and I drove up there, I hadn't played them, and I pulled them out, and we started playing the tournament, and I just got crushed. And I was like, there was like berserker units just running through me. It was exciting to say the least. And I was hooked.
Right. I will say that when Max was explaining each of the factions, he was like, Lannisters control Stark, they do a lot of maneuver shenanigans and they can be aggressive. And he was like, and Free Folk is like a horde army. And I was like, no. Automatically, I was like, I do not want to play that type of army. But one of the battle reports that I did with Adam, he ran his Free Folk against my neutrals, and he had like he had like a control style Free Folk army, and I was like, I love the way you're piloting this. And a week later, I bought a Free Folk starter set, so it's still in shrink wrap, but eventually I would like to try them out.
Yeah. Sweet. All right. Mission accomplished. All right. We can just wrap up the podcast now. I think I've gotten what I want to hear. No, but seriously, shifting gears here. So, we're going to talk about how to get started creating content, but what's your background when it comes to videos and things like that? Because you've been making this amazing content, as we talked out in the intro, with Sunday Slaughter. Your battle reports are phenomenal. They're some of the best ones out there. And
I appreciate that. Yeah.
So what's your background with video stuff? Is this just something you just happen to know how to do as like just kind of a jack of all trades thing?
Well, I'm a videographer by trade. So I've actually been doing this for almost 12 years now, right out of college. I worked for a video production house. I eventually began doing freelance, and now actually I am the video producer for a guitar effects pedal company called Earthquaker Devices. So it's something that I've been doing for a while. I love to do it. Growing up, I just told myself, when I grow up, I just want to be able to travel and wear what I want. So it's sort of the perfect scenario for me. So the Sunday Slaughter was an idea that I had for a while, actually. The logo that I have was designed by a buddy of mine for my birthday, actually. So my wife, she wanted to make a poster because I had a Sunday group that was meeting for a good year, and she thought it'd be cool to have something hanging up in the dungeon, the board gaming dungeon. So I already had the logo picked out, and I knew that I wanted to create content for board games, but I was sort of jumping ship from board game to board game, and finally when unfortunately when COVID hit, I had all this time on my hands. So that's when I started to plan, and when the game shop started opening up, I was going to start filming battle reports with my friends at the shop. Luckily, I had the access to equipment, and probably look pretty ridiculous walking into the shop because I have like multiple loads of cases and tripods and cameras. And
is that a 3-camera setup? I'm trying to think now. You got such great angles.
It's a 4-camera setup, actually.
Oh my god! Yeah. Oh, because there's a table one too. Yeah.
So it's sort of like if James Cameron was directing Clerks or something like that. Completely unnecessary to have this much gear, but since I have it, I say, why not, make the best videos as I can. So.
Trust me, there's, in the spirit of miniature wargaming, you can never have too many toys. So it sounds like we're good. Now you got to think about how can you find another way to fit another camera in there or something.
Exactly.
Well, that's amazing. And it really shows. I mean, your videos, and if you haven't checked out Sunday Slaughter, oh my gosh, you have to go over there and check them out. I start with the Free Folk Adam versus Chris here. Start with that one. I love the Free Folk ones especially. I'm just saying, but
spoiler alert: the Free Folk came on top.
We assumed as much, but I just you want to watch it out there.
Right.
So you got all those cameras setting up, and so the stuff you put out there is so professional. I love the way it's edited. You have so much experience, and it clearly shows. So right now, there's a lot of people that have been thinking about content creation, right? And the game is booming, it's exploding. We've got more people playing than ever before. If someone wanted to start and get into content creation, is there any advice you might have for those of us who maybe don't have as much experience?
Sure. And sort of to piggyback off of what you just said, and to preface the tips I'm about to provide, I think right now is the perfect time to start creating content, just because stores are opening back up, and I'm seeing new players every week come into the shop, and they're buying starter sets. So that's a sign that the community is growing. And if a new player is anyone like me, who as soon as you get into something, you're watching videos on YouTube right away. This is the time to do it. And if you look at my videos, I do not want anyone to be discouraged, thinking that I've got all the equipment, what can I do? Honestly, I think you could make an equipment list that would be just as much as buying a starter set. It's just a matter of looking where you should look. Yeah.
I know we see such a wide range in the community. I mean, we have some of the bigger brands like Mythico Studios. It's a store, and it has racks and sliders, and they've got a cool stream thing set up, and it's amazing. And then you also have guys like Ash Barker from Gorilla Miniatures Game, which is a really big YouTube channel, and he films a lot of that stuff like with a phone. He's just holding it, moving it around.
Exactly. And that's one of the first things, I would say is, first and foremost, you're going to need a camera. And some people just totally forget that they have one in their pocket. iPhones honestly shoot better video than some of the, prosumer cameras you can get for a couple $100. So, that's one place to start, is like thinking, what do I have already that I could use to start filming battle reports? So, start off with a phone. You can buy affordable clamps for phones. Like they don't really need a tripod. You can buy a clamp on Amazon for $10, and set that up, on the, if you have a high shelf or a lamp or something like that, just set that next to the table and just face the table. It's as simple as that.
Heck, if you're playing with your buddy, you might have 2 phone cameras you can use. You can
exactly.
2 angles.
Exactly. And if you have a little bit of money to spend, I actually went on Facebook Marketplace before we got on this call, and I found a handful of GoPro cameras that are used for $50. And that's another. It's a great camera to use. It's wide enough to capture everything. They're portable, so that's definitely another option. And beyond the GoPro, you can also, if you have a little bit more money to spend, they're what's called DSLR cameras, which are still cameras that shoot great video, HD video. They have affordable cameras like that on Amazon for a couple $100, or you can get lucky enough and maybe find one for less than that, used on Craigslist or Facebook or something like that.
Right. That's how I ended up. You find somebody who is a photographer that is like constantly having to I didn't realize there's like such like an arms race for the fog, and like they're like constantly upgrading their stuff. And you find somebody who's like getting rid of some old stuff, and you're like, okay, like that's I would never be able to afford this, but I can get it from you cheap, so that's where I'll go with.
Well, and another thing is, more times than not, you may know someone that has a camera that's not using it. An old GoPro or an old DSLR camera. Possibly even someone in your gaming group. All you have to say is like, dude, I would love to start filming battle reports, and I'm sure they would jump at the opportunity to lend you their stuff to start something like that.
So sometimes then the challenge can be, so I haven't ever been able to have the benefit to be able to do a battle report yet. It's something I want to work up to. It always seems so daunting, right? Just the amount of footage, the cameras, and you want to make sure you get it right, and the rules. And any tips for just like, getting over that hump and jumping in?
Yeah, so first and foremost, like anything, you just got to start doing it, and the more you do it, you're going to get better at it. And if you're posting it to YouTube, there are plenty of people that will let you know if they'll have suggestions on how to make it better, and you sort of have to take that as just criticism, and it's going to get better. But I started doing video, and I can't even look at the older videos that I did, but just knowing that it's just stepping stones to getting better, and you're always gonna, learn something new the more you do it. Um, but one thing I think that cannot be understated with videos is, especially battle reports, is audio. Like people, it's something that people probably wouldn't notice, but it plays a really important role. I mean, if you watch an on the table gaming video, all these videos have something in common. Your videos, Ash's videos from Gorilla Miniatures, Ben's videos from Blitz Minis, they all use wireless mics or lavalier mics.
Yeah.
So I think that's super important, especially if, like you're filming a battle report. People are, if they're painting, let's say, if they're painting and watching a video, they're not going to want to hear, a loud AC blasting while you're trying to explain your plays and stuff like that. So, that's one thing I would suggest, is looking into options on how can you record good audio. And again, if you're on a budget, we mentioned iPhones before. If you're using a GoPro to film the battle report, you can use your iPhone to record the audio. I think that's a good tip that people can remember is,
yes.
Even better if you can set it on the table. If you have two iPhones, set it on each side of the table to capture good audio, or wear a shirt with a chest pocket, slip it in there. I think that's another good option for people who don't have access to, a wireless or a lavalier mic.
That's what we actually started the first time we went to PAX Unplugged in 2018, I think, right when kind of a Song of Ice and Fire came out, and we brought our iPhones and we bought like $12 wired mics that would plug into your phone. You could just start recording and put your phone in your pocket. It worked out amazing unless your phone locked. And then you got an interview where we interviewed, who was it? It might have been like Adam Lovell, or no, it was someone from CMON or Come On Games, but like his voice was like amazingly crisp, and then mine was like people walking around in the background, convention hall noise, and I was like, no.
Oh my gosh, yeah, event halls are notorious just for loud background noises.
Yeah.
Like any kind of videos I watch from like Gen Con or something like that, it's brutal.
Yeah. So I think that video never got made, sadly, because I was like, I can't, I tried to learn how to like, I mostly learned by self-teaching, looking at YouTube videos. And it was like, how do you clean out the noise in the background? Like find a sample audio and like remove it. And it just didn't work.
Oh yeah, it's a whole process.
I was like, oh, okay.
So I mentioned audio. I think another important thing is to consider the environment that you're shooting in. I recently shot a battle report with Carl from Roll 'em If You Got 'em in my basement. Usually I shoot it at Gamers Haven, and that's the local game shop that I play in. And Gamers Haven has awesome lighting. I sometimes have the option to shoot near a window. It has great natural lighting and stuff like that. Everything is crisp on camera. In my basement, it's not as ideal, so I had to figure out a way to rearrange the table to where it's directly under a light. So lighting is a factor. You brought up, noise. If you're playing at a game shop, maybe set up in a corner where there's not a lot of traffic. Maybe a place where there's not going to be people asking you for questions or like sort of creeping into the video shot, like looking what's going on and stuff like that.
That was one of my favorite thing about Mythico Studios is they have a separate studio for recording, and on the other side of the wall is their big gamer hall. And so it's pretty quiet, but every once in a while, on like one of their Warhammer nights or something, you just hear like a rah, like muffled noise coming to the wall. It's like somebody did something.
Always curious to know what their setup is like, because when you watch their videos, they have the wall of merchandise. Yeah. But I'm like, what is it? Is that like a part of the store? I didn't realize that was a whole different room set up.
Yeah, no, they've got a whole cool setup down there. If you're ever down in New Jersey, make sure you check out Mythico Studio. It is one of the highlights of New Jersey. Oh, just kidding. Sorry, New England rivalry thing. So you gotta check out Mythico Studio. Yeah, they have a great, amazing event hall area, and it's then like next door is kind of like another similar sized space that has 3D printing, and that's kind of their recording studio area. So they have like a set essentially.
Their content they produce is amazing.
Yeah,
I love their stuff.
And that's so Nick. His background is I hope I'm not speaking out of turn here. He's not a videographer, but he is a digital effects animator. That's like his original background. So yeah, so the you two guys need to team up. You got like all these same pieces of the pie here.
Yeah, they had that rail cam.
Yeah,
and I was like, I have one. I didn't even think about using that for a battle report, so I can't take the credit for having the rail cam on there. They definitely beat me to the punch, but their videos just always look amazing.
Is yours a motorized one?
It is motorized.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
So actually, I can automate it with my phone. So I choose like the rate speed, and I just press play, and it just goes back and forth.
So you do really look crazy when you're walking into that store, because you want that. You're like, oh my gosh, you're setting off metal detectors and.
It's a whole process. It probably takes me about an hour. I show up right when the store opens. We play on Sundays, and the store opens at 11. And sometimes Brandon, who's a store owner, he, bless his heart, I try to show up as early as possible. He lets me in, and I'm just lugging in all this stuff, like cases and cases of camera gear.
That's amazing. But you don't need all those rail cams to start off. A fixed camera is good. And for A Song of Ice and Fire, what have you found to be the angles that you want to get?
So I have the luxury of having what's called a C-stand. I've gotten a couple questions on YouTube of how I get that main angle, which is directly over the table. So it's sort of like a heavy-duty metal stand that has an arm that goes directly over the table, and I can put an attachment on it where I screw in the camera and just faces directly down. And I like that angle, but a lot of the battle reports out there, I assume people are putting a camera on some kind of tripod that just faces at an angle. I think that angle is perfectly fine for shooting a battle report. Having multiple angles is always a plus. I like to have like the dice cam and the tactics board off to the side, and having a camera that's directly face down on that, so I can cut to it when people are rolling their dice. But all that stuff is extra. You know what I mean? As long as the audience can see clearly what's going on when you're maneuvering units, when you're playing cards, or sometimes you can even see the dice that you roll. I think Ben from Blitz Minis, he has a secondary camera. He doesn't use a dice cam, but sometimes he just picks up the camera and just like films him rolling the dice, which is a talent in itself.
Yeah.
But I prefer higher up angles. I think that works best for filming battle reports.
And if maybe getting to more advanced techniques here, but one of the things I really like about your videos is you have a side view coming down on the table that really highlights the players. And I think it's really important when you watch battle reports, or maybe this is just a me thing, but I really enjoy seeing the personalities of the people as well as they play. And
absolutely
seeing them, that just makes the video more entertaining. Maybe there are people out there that just want like a hardcore, like just like analytical, just show me the things moving. But for me, I don't know, your videos have such character because of that.
I do think there is a place for the super competitive analytical stuff, and there are a lot of battle reports that are being filmed on TTS, which is great because everything is so precise. But I like to think when we're shooting a battle report, first and foremost, you have to make it fun.
Right.
Fun for the audience and fun for yourselves when you're playing, just because, a lot of new players are going to be watching the video, and the last thing they're going to want to see is someone being salty over a dice roll or how OP an army is,
right.
It's not good for the audience to have an experience like that. So that's another important tip is, maybe choose an opponent or a friend that is not known for being that way.
Right.
Like someone that can have fun for the camera. Also, another thing that I like to tell people before we turn on the cameras for a battle report is sort of vocalize what's going through your mind when you're making a play. It makes it a little less competitive because obviously your opponent can sort of peek into your brain and hear what you're trying to do. But I think that makes for good video when people are watching it, because not only do you want to make it fun and entertaining, I think making it informative too. Having people learn from the plays that you make, or even your mistakes, I think is very important.
Right. I 100% agree. And I also think on some level, maybe not to the extreme, that's also just good habits for playing the game.
Exactly.
Declaring out your steps as you're going. It
Yeah.
and that's a great way to make it so people can learn while they watch.
Yes, yes. Vocalizing intent is always good for a game like this. Yeah, the last thing you want to do is make something confusing for a play your opponent. Be like, wait, what did you just do? Like that that doesn't make any sense.
So people have cameras. They can solve some of the audio challenges by proximity to their phones and using other recording devices like that. But then the other spot where people oftentimes get stuck is on the actual editing themselves, where they want to jump in
Sure.
and they want to know, okay, well, how can I put this together? Any suggestions or thoughts on how to actually make your video and export it?
Yeah. So I can give a little insight on what I do in post production. I use Adobe Premiere. I don't know what other content creators are using right now, but I know there are other free options out there. I know that DaVinci Resolve is another free program, I believe. But I've worked in Premiere since I started doing videos, so that's what I'm most familiar with. Um, but that's that's one thing that I would be willing to be a resource for people, just because I would need a whole YouTube series on explaining how basics work within an editing, you know, within editing software. Um, but there
Careful
are
there. I might
plenty
take you up on
of
that.
plenty of people have success with just one camera angle and typing on a simple intro and then uploading it to YouTube. Uh, I sort of wish um, I could step out of myself and be like, okay, this video's done. I'm gonna upload it, because literally, like, these battle reports, like I think I spend way too much time trying to make them as perfect as can be.
Well, no, for me, one of the things that's so great about some battle ports is, and man, so like the other day, somebody posted on the Facebook page, they're like, "Hey, like we're just streaming a game on Twitch," and they had set up just like one camera on the side, and they're playing. And I popped on in there, and it was the second game they'd ever played. It was there were some creative licensings being done with the rules,
Sure.
and they were just having a blast. I just like kind of captured the joy of the game.
Yeah.
It was so much fun to watch. I really enjoyed it. And I realized like, oh man, there's like, there's different videos for fitting different purposes, right? And you might have like, oh, we want to do like
Yeah.
really competitive game. We might want to have one that's like, this is actually just pure entertainment. Maybe it's just a social hangout. And so part of it is just figuring out like, what is your purpose here? Like, what are you trying to do? What kind of art are you making?
Sure. Sure. I mean, I would love to see. Maybe this is sort of a call to action to people that are thinking about starting up battle reports. Is just like making the most like goofy like meme armies as you can, and playing those for the camera. I would love to see videos like that. Like make a whole army of like Stormcrow archers or something like that,
Yeah. Oh
or like
gosh. Don't
three champions of the stags or something. I would love to see videos like that.
Who was that? Was it I don't want to say the wrong name. Was it Colby? There was a guy who was out there running like all Stark Bowman or something. Like,
I love it.
but he was like winning
I
games.
love
I was like,
that.
oh my God. I was so scared. Yeah. Yeah, I think that would be so great. So one of the free video editing softwares that I've heard mentioned a lot is DaVinci Resolve. That's one
Yep.
that seems to be really popular. I actually use the Adobe Cloud, Creative Cloud. It was one of those things. That's actually how this all started for me. Was I had as I'm a teacher, and part of my job is I put out a school magazine. We do like a student school newspaper thing. And
Right.
I ended up having to purchase my own copy of InDesign. And
Yeah.
so I'm like, man, I'm paying a monthly fee for this. And I was like, and I was like, hey, there's other cool stuff in here. And then next thing I know, it's like, I could make a podcast, or I could do this, or I could do that. And so for me, it's been like 3 years of like skill mastery, being like, how can I learn something new? And that's been
I
kind of part of
I
the joy.
I admire that. I admire that. And that's another thing. If people are interested in starting a battle report, that's just another skill that you can learn. Video editing right now, I think, is a great skill for people to learn. Um,
Yeah, it pays off. I think that's like a 21st century skill. We
exactly.
do distance learning a teacher, and I feel so bad. My content is slowed down so much, but I was literally like making videos for my students like every day. And I was like, man, I can make some really cool videos here. And it's like, let's have some fun with this stuff. And it
So
was,
for the videos that you're making for your students, are you putting in the on the table dragon intro for?
oh,
For
no, no,
those
no, no, no. So
videos?
that's my big thing is like, this is like a whole separate persona. Like nobody knows I do this gaming stuff. It's all like kind of compartmentalized. So it was a total
Gotcha.
different, I made a whole different template, but I teach ancient and medieval civilizations. So we got like ancient Greek and all this cool stuff and battles. And I can be like, I can make some videos of this stuff. Like, all right.
That's awesome. That's so rad. I was gonna say, you mentioned DaVinci Resolve as a free
Mhm.
software that people could look into. I know that YouTube actually has. I don't know. I've never used it before, but I know uh, it's another way to maybe simply do edits in there. I think that um, Mythico Studios actually edits all their stuff live. I don't hold me to that, but I since they stream on
Yeah.
Twitch, I think they're either doing it on like OBS or
Right.
Streamlabs or something like that. So I'm sure a lot of people out there have experience with running their own Twitch. So that's another option. Like maybe have two of your friends, run a game and set up a laptop with a webcam, and you can be editing live within that streaming editing software. So
And that cuts down on the workflow a lot.
exactly, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, man. So I really do hope we see. And I mean, and also it doesn't have to be just battle reports, right? You can just, I mean, what I do is I just stand in front of a camera and I'll talk sometimes, or sometimes I'll just record my voice. But get out there and just
Yes,
kind of
yes.
create stuff. Like that's the cool thing is that, and I know people have different mindsets, but like this content creation isn't like a competition. There's like an insatiable demand for this stuff out there. Like no one's gonna get to a point where they're like, there's too much of Song of Ice and Fire content. Like we're not even close to that. Like there's so much
Right.
room to create and have fun and it's really fulfilling just to make stuff.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I will say one thing people could do also is like I would love to see maybe short little videos of people's painted armies.
Yeah.
Like
Or like an
photos are
army on
one
parade
thing.
thing.
Yeah, I mean, any kind of content is great for the game, but that's something simple anyone can do with their phone. Like I'm always attracted to videos that I see on Facebook. I'll always click on a video, even if it's just like a 10-second video of someone showing off their arm.
Yeah. Man, what a world we live in though here, right? I mean,
It's wild.
I played war games when I was younger, and you'd have to buy these like painting books and be like, oh, there's a book on like how to paint things. And now I can just get like inspiration anywhere with just the click of a button.
Right.
Are we dating ourselves here? I don't know how old you are, but like, wow, the miracles of
Oh,
the internet.
it's an ongoing joke at the game shop because people are always trying to guess my age, and it's I will say I'm a lot older than I look.
Well, we know you're not 12, right? 12 years professional. So there we go. I'm waiting for that day when there's some content creator comes on and is like, I'm 10. I'll be like, oh boy, like
Yeah,
we're
yeah. I
old.
started doing videos when I was 2, so.
All right, there we go. Can't drive. Your parents had to drive you here, but
So you did mention, creating content other than battle reports. I mean, there's. I'm gonna give a shout out. I think George from Three Sales Gaming is doing an
yeah,
amazing job. I mean,
absolutely
he
fantastic.
he mentioned that he hasn't even played a game in real life yet, but somehow he's created a channel for Song of Ice and Fire content that is just blown up. His faction overviews are essentially just him interviewing someone, and some image overlays of the cards that they're talking about. It's that simple.
Yeah, and those assets are just out there, right? Anybody can use those. I've got some. You can take them off the Song of Ice and Fire builder. You can
Yep.
actually even just take them screenshots out of the official app,
Yep.
and anybody can jump on in there.
Yeah,
And
I mean that's one thing everyone has in common is they have a favorite army. I would love to see more content of people talking about their strategies and how they like to pilot their own army. I think that's another thing that I'd be super into.
I mean, just get that passion out there. So I'm hoping that there's somebody out there that's listening to this that has always been like, man, it'd be kind of cool to do that. And but I don't know. And like, I hope when you hear this, that you maybe just get that little bit of a push to be like, yeah, jump in. I mean, this is coming also for me. I had zero experience and it was just like, well, you YouTube a lot of things and be like, how the heck does this work? And you read a
Yeah,
bunch of tutorials and, you kind of piece things together, but everyone
right.
will be appreciative of it. Like, I think that's one of the great things about our community is that like everyone is so supportive. Like we all want to see the game grow and it's not a competition. We're all just having fun.
Exactly, exactly. And I will say that, I mentioned before, I'm totally willing to be a resource to help anyone if they have any questions on how to start filming, their first battle report, or if they have general questions about cameras or equipment. I'm more of a lurker on Discord, but you could generally find me on there. My tag is Bolton Skincare Incorporated. So if you ever see that name around Discord, that'll be me.
Sweet. And what do you got in the future for your channel? Sunday Slaughter. What's coming up in the works?
Yeah, so I will say that first off, I want to thank everyone's support. The channel is still in its infancy. I think I launched the first video about 2 weeks ago, and surprisingly enough, we breached the 100 subscriber mark. I think we're at almost 150 right now.
Eight.
So I think I mentioned this in the last battle report that I filmed, but I'm going to officially announce that we are giving away one of the dice trays that's featured in all of the videos. Carl Black, who some of you guys may know, he's the one that makes those awesome dice trays for people in Discord. I'm actually giving one of those away to a random subscriber, and I think that the sky's the limit for the channel. Eventually, hopefully, maybe I'll branch out into other games. But I will say, having 150 subscribers, just focused on Song of Ice and Fire, I think was a surprise to me, and I'm super thankful.
If you were going to move on to other games, or not move on, if you're going to incorporate other games, what are some other games we could maybe see? Are there other games you're
Um,
playing?
I'm a huge fan of campaign games like Gloomhaven. I've got Kingdom Death as
Oh,
well. There's a
yeah.
couple
Oh,
of people
man.
in my gaming group that are really into those games. So maybe something like that. I know that there is a community of Malifaux players at our gaming shop. I know Max is really into that game, so maybe branching out into something like that. But right now, I'm Song of Ice and Fire is my passion. I definitely want to make the best videos as I can regarding the game. So I will say that I'm focusing on that right now, but who knows what's in store for the future.
Well, that's awesome. And I'm going to eagerly look forward to all of your content. And, thanks so much for coming on the podcast.
Of course, I would like to mention that I'm still working out the details, but if you guys have noticed on Facebook, Brett Lamford has sent out an invitation for a tournament in Indianapolis. I think it's going on the weekend that Gen Con was supposed to happen. But I think there are about 27 people signed up right now. But again, I'm working out the details, but I'm hoping to film the finals of that tournament. I know
Oh,
they're
that'd be
going to be,
amazing.
yeah, there's going to be a lot of great players. Word on the street is, possibly there's going to be some CMON representatives there, and there's great prize support as well. So stay tuned for that. I think it's the first weekend of August. I think there's a team tournament and there's just a regular 1v1 tournament.
So it's a 2-day event, August 1st and August 2nd. And like you said, there's a single player and a team tournament event. So it's going to be amazing. I will link the event in the show notes for the podcast. So make sure you guys check it out. And at the very least, if they can't attend, we can watch the finals on your channel, I hope.
Yeah. That's the plan for that. Again, details are being worked out, but that's the plan. And then one last shout out. I want to say thank you to Gamers Haven and the gaming community that I have here in Cleveland, Ohio. They've been amazing, super supportive. Brandon at Gamers Haven, he is the nicest guy. So if you're ever in the area, come stop by. We play. It was just Sundays, but now our gaming group has to the point where we're playing Wednesdays, Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays now.
Oh my
So
gosh, that's
yeah,
amazing.
Yeah, shout out to Gamers Haven and the gaming group, Brandon, Max, Bob, Dakota, Carl, all those guys. They're amazing. Hey, if you're ever in the area, we would love to have you.
I'll have to see what's in the cards in the future. That would be amazing, though. Well, thank you so much for coming on, and I hope this inspired people out there. And in the meantime, I hope you get your miniatures on the table.